Okay, hello students. Let's continue from where we stopped. We talked about security objectives before. We just itemized them. Now we want to have a little bit into what security objectives is all about. First, we talked about the confidentiality. Okay, confidentiality is also known as data confidentiality, meaning a data should be confidential on a network or on a system. So that's very important. Confidentiality should be very important. Data can only be accessed by the person that is supposed to access the data. If not, if it's not confidential, you send anything, the whole world can see it, then people will be bullied. People will not be very free. People will not be very free to release data on the net. Okay? So data confidentiality is super important in network security. Then another thing that is super important is the property that information is not made available or disclosed to unauthorized individual. I think I technically spoke about this. So the information is not disclosed or displayed to unauthorized users or unauthorized identities or processes. So this is very important in network security or the security architecture when you talk about cyber security. So this is very important for confidentiality. And a loss of the confidentiality is the unauthorized disclosure of the information. So once data or information is in the hands of the person that is not intended to, then there is loss of confidentiality. And then there's a break in security, cyber security architecture. So we must ensure that data are confidential in order for the people, users to trust the network system, in order for the user to trust the network system or the information system. Another characteristics of security architecture is the integrity. Okay, the cyberspace, the data need to have at least maximum integrity. Now, when we talk about data integrity, we are characteristically talking about ensuring that the data, the programs are changed only in a specified and authorized manner. Okay, not like someone, you send something, someone has hacked it, change it, and send it, and then the person you sent it to receives something different from what you sent to him. It has been modified, it has been modulated, it has been changed, this was not what it was intended in the whole package. So data has to have that integrity in order to feel safe. Then a loss of data integrity is when an unauthorized modification or destruction has happened to whatever information or data that you have sent. Okay, another part of data integrity is to talk about the system integrity. So, okay, because when we are talking about integrity, we're not only talking about the data itself, we're not only talking about the information itself, we're also talking about the system, the network, okay, the whole architecture, the whole system itself. So we have to ensure that a system performs its intended function in an unimpaired manner. That is free from being connived, be stolen, or be modulated, or be changed, or be tampered with by unauthorized users. Okay, that the system is free, totally free from the unauthorized user, free from deliberate and inadvertent unauthorized manipulations of the system. Okay, when this happens, then the system has no integrity. The system has no integrity. Just like you in the political system, we say, oh, this leader do not have integrity because this is the whole government or the whole presidency or the whole governance is being manipulated. Lies are being told. Stealing is being taking place. Corruption is taking place. So you can say, oh, this guy do not have integrity. So when this happens to a network, when there's data in a network can be manipulated by unauthorized users, usually hackers, usually freelancers, when they have access to your network and they can break through your network and manipulate figures and change the data nomenclature, then we say this system do not have integrity. We say the system outrightly do not have integrity. Now let's go to the availability, because these are three characterizations of security, three big objectives of cyber security. The third one is availability. Availability has something to do with assuring that the system works properly, not like system failure, disruption, system laggy, and all of this thing. Availability is to ensure that the system works properly, that the service is not denied to authorized users. Okay? The service is not, you cannot say, oh, network is down every second. Oh, network is down every second. Network is down every second. When this happens very frequently, it means that the network or this cyber security is not made super available. So there must be something protecting it and making it available for super authorized users at all times. Like in the case of electricity, if you continue to be epileptic, then you can holistically say electricity is not super available. So when your network fails disruptively and indiscriminately, then you can simply say, oh, this is not a reliable or available system. Okay, another thing is the loss of the availability is the disruption of the access to use or use of information or the information system. When there is a disruption in the use of your information, when there is a disruption in the use of your network system, when there is a disruption in the availability or the access to accessing the networking in the network system or the information system, and then when this becomes a disruption process, and then we say this is not a reliable or available network system. So these three are the big objectives of cybersecurity. 1, confidentiality. 2, integrity. 3, availability. This holistically has to be addressed when you formulate it, when you design it, when you maintain it, when you subscribe it, when you give it a secured cyberspace. Okay, now let's quickly move on to the next phase. Now, information and network security. Remember, when we say cybersecurity can be divided into 2 subsets. We say can be divided into information security as a subset of cybersecurity, and can also be divided into network security as a subset of cybersecurity. Now, this information and network security put together as 2 subsets of cybersecurity, they have about 5 good characteristics or properties that define what a good cybersecurity architecture should represent. One of it, as we've mentioned earlier, is confidentiality. We've explained in details what confidentiality of a cyber system or of information security or network security should entail. We've talked about the integrity, that a system should be having a maximum integrity, not super disruption every second. And we've talked about the accountability. A system that is secure should be accountable. Just like in political system, there should be a maximum level of accountability. And then availability. We've also talked about availability that should be made available, not super disruptions every now and then on the network or the information system itself. And then authenticity. The authenticity is a very pragmatic point to note, because a secured cyberspace should be authentic. A secured network should be authentic. Sometimes you open web pages, they say, oh, this page is not secure. This network is not secured. Okay? And if it's not secure, then the authenticity is in question. Okay, so all these are essential. This what you see in this figure 1.1, they are essential informations and network security objectives. These are all essential information for the objectives. Now let's move on to the next phase. Now let's take a look at the authenticity and accountability, because we've not dissect these two concepts very holistically. Now let's dissect these two concepts holistically. Let's look at them very vividly. Now when we talk about authenticity, authenticity has something to do with the properties of being genuine. It's not fake. When you say this is fake news, when a super news outlet keeps giving fake news every now and then people will not trust. People start to doubt the authenticity of the news platform. People begin to doubt the authenticity of the new platform. So genuinity, it's a big pillar of either to be considered for classifying whether a network is authentic, or whether a network is or information system is authentic. So it's a property that has something to do with genuinity and being able to be verified and trusted. Okay? And one of the problems many countries, third world nations, they have is that they can't find leaders that they can trust. They can't find leaders they can verify. They can't find leaders that they can have confidence on. So good network system we should be able to have confidence upon it. We should be able to validate it. We should be able to trust their transmission system, and we should be able to trust any message from such networks, and that we should be able to believe in the originality of such information coming from such network. Okay, now let's quickly talk about accountability. Accountability, it's also an ingredient for informations and network security, or in totality. In simply put, you can say it's an ingredient for cybersecurity. It's an ingredient, essential pillar for cybersecurity. Now, accountability. If a network is not being held, cannot be accountable for whatever happens, or information system cannot be held for whatever happens, then it's not reliable. Now, the security goals that generates the requirement for actions of an entity to be traced uniquely to that entity. So accountability is a security goal that generates that requirement for actions. And also accountability is responsible for the support of non-repudiation. When a data system or information system or network system generally, or in what we call the cybersecurity generally, the big umbrella, when the cybersecurity can support non-repudiation, deterrence, faults, isolations, intrusions, detection, the system can detect intrusion. When someone is trying to intrude, when there are intruders, the system can notify the network administrators. If it's designed in such a way, then the system itself is reliable, is accountable. When someone is trying to deter the system, break into the system, hack into the system, isolate the system, intrude into the system, and the system is able to provide prevention mechanism and algorithm that automatically prevent unauthorized user into the system, then this type of ability, this type of detection mechanism, recovery mechanism, legal action mechanism be sent to unauthorized user. This kind of ability or algorithm designed to bring out this aspect, it's a way of confirming the accountability of a network system or a cybersecurity system. And then when you say a cybersecurity system is accountable, it means it must be possible to trace a security breach to a responsible party. It must be able to trace where the breach came from, if there is at all. If there is a security breach at all, you should be able to trace it. The security must also, if you say cybersecurity is accountable or has high level of accountability, then the system must keep records of the activity to permit later forensic analysis to trace security breaches or to aid in transaction disputes. When you have this kind of security architecture or cyber security architecture put in place, then we can say that this security or this cyber security is very, very accountable. But there should be a record of activity that can permit forensic analysis if there is any security breakdown, if there is any security threat, if there is any security manipulations. Okay, so let's look at the challenges of information security. After that, we look at the challenges of network security. First of all, the challenges of information security. Security is not as simple as it might appear to novice. It's not as simple as you think, because the whole world is in chaos. Not only in the political realm, in the cybersecurity space, a lot of people want to break into a lot of things to have access to big data. So there's a big challenge out there, especially in the financial world. People want to break into it. People want to hack into the big financial giants, the central banking systems, the telecommunication informations, the government e-payment system platforms, the big hackers, what we have, the elections, the voting system, the e-voting, okay, the e-tax payment system, all of this thing, the e-education, e-learning system. A lot of people are trying to break into this big data. So they develop an algorithm to break into these big data. Okay, so these are some of the challenges, and then in developing particular security mechanisms or algorithms, designers must always consider the potential attacks on the security features. So when you design an algorithm to protect and prevent unauthorized users, you must keep in mind that there are potential attackers that will always hack or attack a network. And then another challenge that the information system faces is the procedures used to provide particular services are often counterintuitive. Okay? They are not so intuitive enough. They are non-intuitive. Okay? They cannot be by itself regenerates or reconfigurates and do intelligent AI system itself. But however, an update systems keep in place for those programmers, for the coding guys. So always consistently and constantly provide a system that can that can on itself provide an intuitive mechanism by itself. And then having designed various security mechanisms, another challenge, it is necessary to decide whether to use them both or to secure a particular one that has a very logical sense. There are another challenges because we have many algorithms being developed for security architecture, cybersecurity prevention, attack prevention. So whether we should have more than one put in place and make them, synchronize them to work together to provide maximum cyber security, or to adopt a very super high performing cyber security mechanism. So these are also challenges, choosing from what we have out there and knowing which one is the best to use. And then another one is security mechanisms typically involve more than a particular algorithm or a protocol, and also require that participants be in possessions of some security information. So these are some challenges. Now let's move quickly because these challenges are still a lot. Information and network security are essentially a battle of wits between perpetrator who tries to find holes and the designers or network administrators who tries to close these holes or loopholes. So it's a big hullabaloo. It's a big going front and back. The designers are trying to create systems that the perpetrators cannot perpetuate, cannot hack, while the hackers keep finding their loopholes and the mistakes that they can penetrate the networks. And then there's also a natural tendencies of the parts of users and system managers to perceive little benefit from security investment until a security failure occurs. So then there's what we call security requires regular monitoring. Yeah, this is very true. These are challenges. You have to keep monitoring. You have to have very sound IT or network administrators who can constantly and continuously monitor the whole network to ensure that the system is safe all time against those who want to use the back door to break into the system and steal files, steal information from the system. Now, security is too often an afterthought to be incorporated into a system after the design is complete, rather than being an integral part of the design process. Sometimes we design a network before we think of the security system, but we should be thinking of the security system in the design process itself. Many users and office security administrators view strong security as an impediment to efficient and user-friendly operations of an information system or user information. Now, for example, this one, when a system is super secured, it also provides not a very user-friendly system. Yeah, because if it's super secured, you see that we say the software is not too user-friendly. Yeah, this is another challenge. People will begin to complain. The users of those in the network or the users of those software will be complaining that this software is not too user-friendly. One of the reasons why it may not be too user-friendly could be that it has a very strong security architecture. So these are challenges that we must face. Now let's quickly go on for the sake of time. Security attacks. These are some of the security attacks. We categorize them into different layers. Security attacks. And then we have security mechanism, we have security service. First of all, security attacks. Any actions that compromises the security of information owned by an organization, then is considered to be an attack. When there is a violation, when there is a compromise, when there is a breach on the whole network or on the information in the organization, then it's considered to be a security attack. Now, what is security mechanism? Security mechanism is a process or a device incorporating such a process. Devices, all the devices like your router, your switches, your computers, your twisted cables, all this, they comprise the mechanisms. They are also part of the process of mechanisms. A process or a device incorporating such a process that is designed to detect, to prevent, or to recover from a security attack. So every other process that we add to it, beside the physical layer that we've talked about in the security architecture, like encryptions, like decryptions, like using key to encrypt and decrypt signatures, and such in a way that someone cannot open what is not meant for him. All of these processes, including the network itself, they comprise what we call the security mechanisms. Now let's talk about the security service. The security service involves the process or the communication service that enhances the security of the data processing system. A processing or a communication service that enhances the security of the data processing systems and the information transfer of an organization. Okay, so anything that enhances your data processing systems or anything that helps to secure the data entire processing systems and anything that helps in the information transfer of any organization is termed to be security service. It's termed to be security service. In our normal physical country concept, the police provide the service, the security service. The army provide the security service. So in network security or cyber security structure or architecture, anything that helps in the processing or in the communication services that enhances the securities of the data or information that is being transmitted in the entire system is considered or categorized as security service. Now let's move to the next phase. Threats and attacks. Let's quickly take a look at threats and attacks. Threat. First of all, what do we call threat? Any circumstances, anyone, or any events that has the potential to to negatively advance an impact on any organizational operations, which includes the mission, the function, the image, the reputation, the design, the functions of organizational assets, anything that provide that negative potential to adversely impact negative effect on the organizational assets or your individual assets. It could be your thesis if you're doing your master's program. It could be your thesis, or you do your PhD program, or your publications that you've published in journals. Anything that have unauthorized use or violations on this, not only financial world like the banks, even the academic worlds, all of these things that pose danger to the individual or the organizations or the nation as a whole through an information system via an unauthorized access. Could be during elections, the e-voting system, authorized trying to attack, trying to steal the data of election results, any unauthorized access to the voting authorities, any unauthorized user trying to access or disrupt or disclose the result or modify the results of information, not only results of election anyway, I'm only citing that as an example. Any information that is very vital to an organization or to a government or to a private organization or to the banks, the big banks, or to edutech, or to e-commerce platform, big one like Amazon, like the big tech in the United States. Like first of all, you talk about the big tech like Amazon, like the Apple, like the Microsoft, okay, like the big tech, the Facebook. Facebook has automatically become the big giant tech in the world today. When you try to hack the information in Facebook to modify, you're forming a threat, a security threat to Facebook. When you're disrupting the information, when you're trying to disclose all of this, modify these informations, or you're trying to create a denial of service, then all of these activities are considered threats. Now let's look at what is an attack. An attack is any kind of malicious activities, like sending a virus, a malicious activity that attempts to collect, disrupt, and deny or degrade or destroy the information system, or destroy the whole system resources, or the information itself. You try to destroy it, you try to steal it, you try to degrade it, you try to change it, you try to collect it. All of these are categorized as attack on the information in the cyberspace. Okay, quickly let's go to the next one. Let's take a look at the positive attacks and active attacks. We have attacking, I say passive attack and active attacks. And then, first of all, let's look at the passive attack. Passive attacks could be like a release of message content. Message, you quickly release, you disclose it. Traffic analysis also, you all these are categorized as passive attacks. What of active attacks? Replay, data modifications. You modify the whole thing, you change the whole thing, you replace, you masquerade, you come as masquerade that steal the data, denial service. You come, you develop an algorithm to ensure that the owner of service are being denied to have access to their data or their information. All these are categorized as active attacks. Now, when we look at attacks, we look at the authentications, we look at the access control, we look at data confidentiality, we look at data integrity, non-repudiation, and service availability. So if you look at all of these things, if all these things are in place, maybe attack cannot happen on the system. Now let's take a look at the second one, the services. When we are designing services in crypto space or in cyber security space, we look at the cryptographic algorithm. You have to develop a very strong cryptographic algorithm, data integrity. You have to develop a system that will have a data integrity, digital signature, a system that can only operate when it meets the requirements of a digital signature, with a system that have authentication exchange, a system that have traffic padding, and routing control, notarization. Notarization is more or less like signatures control, and then the access control. All of these are called the key concept in security. So when we're looking at security, we have to look at from this aspect. One, the first one is the attack. This one's okay. These are the attacks. These ones are the attacks. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. These first ones are the attacks. What are your attacks? We have passive attack, like the release of message content. That's an attack. Someone release your message, bug it to your message, break it to it, and release it to the world. Someone hack your messages and release them. This is an attack. Traffic analysis. People analyze what is happening in the network and they can have access to it. These are passive attacks. But the big active attacks are replay. They hack into a network and they can replay it so that they can steal the whole thing. And then data modification, they can modify the whole data or information, masquerade themselves and steal everything and deny of service. All these four are active attacks. Now let's talk about services in security, the things you have to provide in the cyber security. We have to provide authentication for the network, access control, data confidentiality, data integrity, no repudiation, and availability. And then we talk about mechanism. The mechanisms. So in your exams, we can bring questions from here. In your exams, we can ask you to mention which of the following is not an active attacks in cyber security. So we'll name three. We put the first one here. And maybe we go and put no repudiation here. You see, this could be a question. And then we can ask about services. And then we can ask about mechanism. Mechanism includes cryptographic algorithm. You have to develop an algorithm to protect and prevent unauthorized users. And you have to design a system that have data can protect and have data integrity. A system that have a digital signature, a system that have authentication or exchange, a system that have traffic padding, a system that have routing control, a system that have notarization, a system that have access control. So all of these things has to be available in the mechanisms of a cyber security system. Now let's look at passive attacks. And passive attacks, let's quickly have, we say it's attempts to learn or make use of information from system but does not affect the system resources. When someone just want to see what is there and make use of it, but it's not planning to really break down the system or disrupt the system entirely, just to have like an eye to just see one or two things, to spy, like to spy on information. It is a passive attack. And then another one is in the nature of the eavesdropping or monitoring of transmission. Like some country I don't want to mention, the superpowers of the world, I don't want to mention any country anyway. Okay, the superpowers of the world sometimes they eavesdrop, they monitor, they use satellite. They have monitoring satellites in our cyberspace, in outer space, to spy. They spy on other countries. They spy on developing countries. these are passive attacks. Maybe they are not disrupting the whole system or the whole mechanism. They just want to know what you're planning or what you're up to. Okay. Then another goal of passive attack is the goal of the attacker is to obtain information that is being transmitted. They just want to obtain it. They just want to know what is being transmitted. Okay, to know whether to, especially this is used in military architecture a lot, to spy and know what their enemy is planning so that they know how to prepare. Okay, they use the spy system. Okay, but you have to have a system that people cannot spy on. This is difficult because they use satellites to move it to the system. There are other very fast emerging countries, I don't want to also mention their names, they're using robots, they're using algorithm AI, they develop AI algorithms, they put in toys, in homes, they put in electronics. When you buy a TV, you don't know that there are spy mechanisms within your TV that can spy what is happening in your home. CCTV cameras. These CCTV cameras are linked with super satellites to actually spy. Okay. These things are there. Okay. Now let's go to the difficult to detect because they do not involve any alterations of the data. So they don't alterate the data because you might find out easily. They always spying or monitoring you. When they try to now disrupt your data, you might find out, oh, that someone is trying to break into your security network. Then the emphasis in dealing with the passive attacks is on the prevention rather than the detection. Okay. The emphasis in dealing with the passive attack is on prevention. So you try to prevent it rather than detecting it. So it's better to design a system that can prevent it so people cannot monitor you, spy on you, steal from you, eavesdrop on you, okay? Or the data that is being transmitted in your country. There are two types of passive attack: release of message content and traffic analysis. We already spoke about this. Now let's quickly go on for the sake of time. Now we say the active attacks involve some modifications of stored or transmitted data or the creations of false data. Active attack, this is a big deal. This is a big deal because they will not only spy on you or eavesdrop on you in cybersecurity space. They're trying to actually modify what you're doing, change it for you. They're trying to modify your stored or your transmitted data, and they're trying to create false data. This is super hilarious. It's super hilarious. Super hilarious. They will change it, and you know the people working the system will not know because what they receive, they think this is what the government has sent. They just start working on it, not knowing that that thing has been hacked, has been changed, has been modulated, has been reconfigured. All kinds of things have happened to it. There are 4 categories of active attacks. 4. There are 4 super categories of active attacks. The first category is masquerades. Now, what do we mean by masquerading? Masquerades takes place when one entity pretends to be a different entity. You pretending to be something else. Meanwhile, you're not. You're not. You're trying to disrupt. You're trying to steal. You're trying to modify the data. That's what you are. You're pretending to be what you're not. It includes one of the other forms of active attack. It's a form of active attack where someone masquerades to be what is not, and come to you to destroy. Like in religion, if you're from the Muslim aspect of life, there's what in Islam, there's this word they use for it. They call it hypocrites. Demonographic. Hypocrite. It's very close to what we're saying. You know, when someone is hypocrite, I'm just giving a real life situation. Pretend to be your friend. Okay, if your friend is a backstabber, pretend to be your friend and then trying to go behind you to make sure you don't succeed. It's a big active attack on your life. People who pretend to be your friend, they're not. So in cybersecurity, I want you to have a similitude, what we're trying to explain. In cybersecurity, when you masquerade, you pretend to be what you're not. You pretend to be a network that you're not. You pretend to be a receiving end when you're not. Just to steal, to disrupt, to modulate, to modify, to steal the transmitted data, to change the whole stored data. And so this is a very serious violation that should be dealt with. It's a big attack. Now let's take a look at the replay, the one we call the replay. Replay is also a form of active attack. Replay is a form of active attack. Now let's take a look at that. Replay involves the passive capture of a data unit and its subsequent retransmission to produce an unauthorized effect. You capture a data and then subsequently you retransmit it to produce it for your own use, and you are not authorized. You are not an authorized user. That's a replay. That's a replay. Okay, then data modification is also another form of active attack in cybersecurity. Now, let's take a look at what that means. What are the things? What do that things? Data modification is when some portions of a legitimate message is altered, is changed, okay, or that the message are delayed or reordered to produce an unauthorized effect. You delay them too quickly, copy them before you let it go, and you are not an authorized user. It may not be only coming from outside, it could be coming from people working in your organization. When let's say you have a business, you launch an idea, you launch a platform that is super evolving. Some of your staff want to steal this data because they're trying to copy what you're doing and launch the same company, the same business identity or platform, so they can delay your message, delay your transmission because they are legitimate. Your network administrator, they know how to do that. And they are coders, they are programmers, they are your big tech guys. So they can modify your data and copy it when they are not supposed to do that. The denial of service is the fourth of what we call the active attacks. Denial of service prevents or inhibits the normal use or the management of communication facilities. You have a system to prevent others to have access to a network system. You develop an algorithm to inhibit the normal use or to inhibit the management of the communication facilities. When you do this is called denial of service. Now let's quickly go for the sake of time. Now for security or for engineering, we have to model the attack architecture. We have to model the security attack. We have to put them in a figure. First of all, we have a normal flow. This is a client, this is server, server to client, client to server. This is a normal flow. Client could be the user, the server could be the big organization where everything comes. Okay, these are normal flows. Now, let's take a look at the block B, another block B. Block B is called the passive attack, what we call eavesdrop, transmit, or what we call transmit analysis. Passive attack is two forms. eavesdrop and traffic analysis. We've talked about that earlier on. Eavesdrop is when someone just stay, let's say you in your room, you're talking with your partner in your room, someone, and you close the door, maybe not very well, a little bit, and someone comes close to your door or your window to be listening to your discussion. That's an eardrop, right? So, same in network, cyber security, or network security, or information security. So, an attacker, we're trying to listen or spy or eavesdrop or to know what is going on in your country or in your organization or in your network, so to say. Now, let's go to the next block C, which is a model for active attack. The first active attack called the masquerade data modification, both masquerade and data modification. What happens is that this is a client, this is a server. This client sends something to the server. The attacker will break to it and collect whatever is said, will change it, modify it, and send a different thing to the server. The server also sends something to client. The attacker will hack it, modify it, and send it to the client. So you're receiving something, you think that's what's from the server, but it's not. And the server is receiving something thinking that's the information from the client, and it's totally not. Then let's take a look at the one we call the active, also another type of active attack, masquerade data modification, denial of service. Denial of service is to the attacker just cut off the server from the client. Just cut them. They don't. Even if he sends something, it will not go. Just cut it off. They don't get again. They don't get the service anymore. That's that. Then let's go to the last but not the least, the active attack, also what we call the replay. In the replay, the attacker, the client says something to, first of all, he will eavesdrop, and then he will now modify it and copy it. Okay, so let's quickly move. So these are about 5 blocks explaining both the normal case and one block explaining the normal case and 4 blocks explaining both the passive attacks and the other 3 blocks explaining the active attacks. Now let's go on quickly. Table 1.1 is showing the security services. We have authentication. Okay, authentication. A person's identity is determined before access is granted. Yeah, that's the authentication. You try to know who is this in a network before you grant access. Maybe through password system. Okay, oh, is the right person. Then you grant it. You log in with your username and your password. So the system will authenticate who is the one. Okay? If you are logging in with another device, it may notify your phone that are you the one logging in from another device in a different location. If you say yes, I'm the one, your mobile phone, because when you provided this, you have to enter your phone number or your email. Once you say yes, you click yes, then it will authenticate that you're the one. Then another one is access control. We say persons are allowed or denied access to resources for specific purposes. If you're not supposed to have access, then you either be denied or allowed. Then data integrity, data confidentiality. Information is only available to persons intended to use it or to see it. That's confidential data. Then data integrity. We've talked about this, right? Data integrity. Information is modified only in appropriate ways by persons authorized to change it, not persons that are not supposed to. So we say that data has high level of integrity. No repudiation. A person cannot perform an action and then later deny performing the action. Like I said, you cannot do something and then you deny. You're not the one who did it. So that's another issue. Availability, apps, services, and hardware are ready when needed and can perform acceptably. Okay, all your network system, physical hardwares, or your apps, or your hardwares, and they should be ready and should be able to do the job. So authentication, I think we've explained this before. Authentication service is concerned with ensuring that the communication is what? Authentic. Communication is authentic. It's from the right source. It's from the right person. In the case of single message, such warning, or an alarm signal, all the functions of authentication services to ensure the recipient that the message is from the source and that it claims to be from. Okay, in the case of outgoing interaction, such as the connection of a client to server, two aspects are involved. One, at the time of connection initiation, the service ensures that the two entities are authentic. If they are not, then it will not allow the gateway. Okay, the service will ensure both of them are what they claim to be. Then the service must also ensure that the connection is not interfered with in such a way that the third party can masquerade as one of the two legitimate parties for the purpose of unauthorized transmission or reception. So, X.800 defines two specific authentication services: peer entity identification, or peer entity authentication, and data origin authentication. What do you mean by peer entity authentication? Peer entity authentication provides for the corroboration of the identity of a peer entity in an association. Both of them must synchronize with whatever data that was entered in order for both of them to synchronize and communicate. The data origin authentication provides for the corroboration of the source of the data unit. It does not provide protection against the duplications or the modification of the data unit. Okay, but want to ensure the data is actually coming from where it's supposed to come from. Then access control is the ability to limit the control, the access to host system and application via communication links. So access control is the ability. Access control is the ability. Okay, is the ability to limit the control, to limit and control the access to host system. Ability to limit your access to host system. For example, this EduTech with some university. If you are not authorized user, you probably will not have an access control. Even if the system should be able to detect and limit you if you're not. Okay? Then, to achieve this, each entity tries to gain access must first be identified, maybe by logging or authenticated, so that the access right can be tailored to the individual. You have to log in with your username and password in order to gain access to the system, right? We talk about data confidentiality, the protections of transmitted data from the passive attacks. That's number one. Not only passive attack, remember there's also active attack. We're going to talk about that. First, the protections of transmitted data from passive attacks, like masquerade and traffic analysis. They are passive attacks. So the protection against masquerade, the protection against traffic analysis, all of this are part of data confidentiality. The second point to note is the broad service protection on user data transmitted between the two users over a period of time. Okay, the protection between two users, for example, from your lecturer to the students, and students when they submit their assignment to the lecturer, there should be a protection system, a protection gateway. So this type is data confidentiality. Okay, the data aspect of the other aspect of confidentiality is the protection of traffic flow from analysis. The protection of traffic flow from analysis. This requires that an attacker not to be able to observe the source and destination, the frequency, the length, and other characteristics of the traffic on the communication facility. Because in traffic analysis, you'll be able to see the bandwidth, the length, the frequency, the destination, the source of the data, all of this. So, ability to protect the information in a network from this type of unauthorized usage, it's part of data confidentiality. Data integrity. A data has integrity when a connection-oriented integrity service, one that deals with a streams of messages and also ensure that the messages are received as sent. If the system cannot provide that platform in such a way that the messages that are sent are received as sent, there is no duplication, there is no insertion, there is no modification, there is no reordering, there is no replay, then the system do not have integrity. This cybersecurity does not such integrity. So cybersecurity doesn't have integrity. So for you to say data has integrity in a system, in a network security system, then it simply means that the data that is sent is received as sent. There is no duplication to it. There is no insertion to it. There is no modification to it. There is no reordering to it. And there is no replay that is happening to it. And also, that's point to note, point number one to note. Another point to note about data integrity is the destructions of data is also covered under this service. When data is disrupted, then there is no data integrity. When you can disrupt a network, you can disrupt the flow of transmission of data, then the data or the network or the information has no integrity. Has no integrity. That's another point to note. Another point to note is the connection-oriented integrity service. The connection-oriented integrity service addresses both the message stream modification and the denial of service. The connection itself should be in such a way that it will deny anyone trying to modify the system or cut the client away from the server or cuts the server out away from the client. So such system, such server system is outrightly regarded. When that happens, we say the data has no integrity in the cybersecurity space. Another point to note is the connectionless integrity service. The connectionless integrity service, one that deals with individual messages without regards to any larger context, meaning it generally provides protection against message modification only. So any message on this system cannot be modified. So that such security is protected, such system is protected, such network is protected, and then we can say such data has security, has integrity, so to say. Now let's quickly look at what we call the non-repudiation. Non-repudiation prevents either a sender or a receiver from denying. It's a legal point. This is illegal from a legal point of view. From denying that whatever they've sent to each other wasn't sent in the first case. Whatever they sent to each other was not sent in the first case. You cannot deny. A cybersecurity system that is protected or secured should be able to have such an integral characterizations of non-repudiation in such a way that the sender cannot deny what he has sent, neither will the receiver be able to deny what he has been sent. So this is a very important characteristic. There should be inculcated into cybersecurity protection, into network security protection. Another point to note for non-repudiation, is when a message is sent, the receiver can prove that the alleged sender, in fact, sent the message. There should be a proof of message sent. That's the point to make. A proof, a signature, a proof that this message has been received, so that the sender cannot deny it, or a proof that the message has been received by the receiver, such that the receiver cannot deny it. So this is part of non-repudiation. And then the last point to signature is to a system security architecture is when a message is received, the sender can prove that. I think I've already explained that. The sender can prove that the alleged receiver, in fact, has received the message. These 3 points explain what we call the non-repudiation in cybersecurity architecture. You cannot deny it, and if I send it, I should have a proof that I sent it, and if you receive it, you should have a proof that you've received it. Let's go on to the next point quickly. The next point is availability service. Availability of service. Availability means that a system or a system resource is accessible and usable upon demand by the authorized system entity, by the user. Whenever I need to quickly access something in the network, it should be made available to me, not saying, oh, system is not available, or system denies me every time I try to log in, or anytime I try to do what I'm doing. Then that system is not super protected. It's not super protected from cyber hacking. Another point for availability of a system that is super protected is the varieties of attacks can result in lots of reductions in availability. When there's super attack, continuous attack on a network, there could be reduction in the availability of the network itself. There's another point is some of these attacks are amenable to automated countermeasures such as authentication, encryptions, whereas other require some sort of physical action. In the cybersecurity, authentication is one of the ways to prevent attack. Encryption is one of the ways to prevent attack. Okay? Beside other physical action that can be taken. X800 treats availability as a property to be associated with various security services. Okay? Now let's quickly go on because the time is so fast spent now. The most important security mechanisms include the cryptographic algorithms, the data integrity, the signature, the digital signature, the authentication exchange, the access control, the notarization, the routing control, the traffic pathing. Now let's take a look at them one after the other. Cryptographic algorithm. The NIS Computer Security Glossary provides the following definitions. What is cryptography? First of all, what is cryptography? Cryptography, the discipline that embodies the principles, means, and method for the transmission of data in order to hide their semantic content, prevent the unauthorized use of it, and also to prevent their undetected modification. Cryptography is a discipline in cybersecurity that deals with embodying the principles, the means, and the method for transmission of data. They have to be amended. They have to be hidden in order to hide the semantic content, to hide the content, to prevent the unauthorized use of the information, of the data, and also to protect and prevent the undetected modification. Also, cryptography could also mean the discipline that embodies the principles, the means, and the method for providing the information security, including the confidentiality, data integrity, non-repudiation, and authenticity. Okay? Embody the principle and means and method that for providing the information security, which include all that we've talked about, the confidentiality, the data integrity, the non-repudiation, and the authenticity. Then, another terminology is in other cryptographic algorithm is the cryptographic algorithm itself. What is cryptographic algorithm? It's a well-defined computational procedure. It's a computational procedure pertaining to cryptography that takes variables, inputs, often include a cryptographic key, and produces an output. It's a computational mechanism. It's a computing coding effect that uses key, develop a system that cannot easily be accessible by those who do not have the key to encrypt or decrypt the message. Now, figure 1.4 is a cryptographic algorithm. Looking at the keyless, we have the keyless. Under the keyless cryptographic algorithm, we have the cryptographic hash function. We have pseudo-random number generator. These ones, they don't require the key to encrypt or decrypt a message. But we have single key. We have what we call the block cipher symmetric encryption. We have stream cipher symmetric encryption. We have message authentication code. We're going to learn this one for that, especially in your master program. You're going to learn all of this very detailed formats. And then we have two key systems: asymmetric encryption and digital signature. Digital signature is very important for computer security or network security. Key exchange, user authentication. All of these are two key systems in this cryptographic mechanism. Now let's go quickly for the sake of time. Keyless algorithm. An algorithm that does not require key. You know, we talk about it. We say they include cryptographic hash function, see the random number generators. These ones, they are keyless. Now, other than this, the keyless algorithms are deterministics. We are going to probabilistic functions now. We're going to try some probabilistic mathematics. And we say they are deterministic functions that have certain properties that are useful for cryptography. In their design, they run pseudo-random. They're pseudo-random generators, key generators. They're keyless. They just on their own they develop the functions to be able to log in. Now, one important types of keyless algorithm is the cryptographic hash function. Now, one very important of keyless algorithm is called the cryptographic hash function. Remember that. We also say another one was what? A pseudo-random number generator. Now, let's first of all take a look at the cryptographic hash function. Now, this one is in two forms. A hash function turns a variable amount of text into a small fixed length value called the hash value or hash code or digest. Another form is that cryptographic hash function has additional property that makes it useful part of another cryptographic algorithm, such as a message authentication code or a digital signature. Now let's quickly go to the next one. Okay, before then, the pseudo-random number generator. Anything pseudo-random is a probabilistic. It produces a deterministic sequence of number or bits that has the appearance of being truly random sequence. This one, it's an algorithm that can randomly generate sequence that will lock the system for you. Okay, now let's go to the next one quickly. The single key algorithm. What do we mean by single key algorithm? Single key cryptographic algorithm depends on the use of a secret key. If you don't have that secret key, you cannot decipher any encrypted message. You cannot decipher any encrypted message. Okay? This key may be known to be a single user when protecting stored data that is only going to be accessed by the data creator. Okay? There are commonly two parties share the secret key, maybe the sender and the receiver. Then, for a certain application, more than two users may share the secret key. For certain application, more than two users may share the secret key so that they can use it to log in. Like if you have a Netflix, right? You have a Netflix account, maybe there's a password, right? So if you don't share it, no one can have it to your account, right? Then let's take a look at the encryption algorithms that use a single key and refers to as symmetric encryption algorithm. Please take note, this is very important. Encryption is like a message no one can read. You scatter it in letters that have no meaning, okay, with a key. It's only when you key in the key, the message will come back to readable format. Encryption algorithm that use a single key are refers to symmetric encryption algorithm. The one that use two keys, they are asymmetric. So encryption algorithms are divided into two: symmetric encryption algorithm and asymmetric encryption algorithm. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the symmetric encryption algorithm. Symmetric encryption algorithm is an encryption algorithm. It's an encryption algorithm that takes place, or that takes input, that takes as input some data to be protected, and then a secret key to produce an unintelligent transformation on that data. Let's take that again. When we say an encryption algorithm, we say symmetric encryption algorithm is an encryption algorithm, okay, that takes as input some data, any data. If it could be numerical data, it could be any kind of data, that takes in some data to be protected. You want to protect the data, whatever form of data, and a secret key. A secret key. Maybe this secret key is generated by not only pseudo-random way, or it could be using cipher chip key to generate the key. Okay, it takes some data and a secret key and produces an unintelligent transmission on the data. So many the data will be, how to say, will like mutilated. Let me use the word mutilation. The data is like if you cut something, mutilate it, cut. So you can no longer say what exactly this is. So it will mutilate it. It will put it in an unintelligent form. You can no longer read it. It will destroy it, and make it look like as if it's symbols and letters that are not in the English alphabet, if you're sending the data in English language. So it will put it in a very unique form, or unique form that you can no longer read it. So, but for this to happen, you need what? You take the data itself and you need a key. The key will put the data in an unintelligent transformation. It will put it in an unintelligent form. And then when it's always the user, the receiver, because you have the sender that has modulated with a key. And then that gives the key to the receiver. The receiver, only when he log it with the key, then the message will be deciphered. And then he can read the message. Then a corresponding decryption algorithm uses the transformed data and the same secret key to recover the original data. So in the receiving end, you need the key to transform the encrypt message. You have to decrypt it using that algorithm that was used to generate it, and you have to decrypt the message into a readable form. Now, another form of single key cryptographic algorithm is the message authentication code, MAC. Message authentication code. A MAC is a data element associated with a data block or message that is generated by a cryptographic transformation involving a secret key. It also involves a secret key, typically cryptographic hash function of the message. The MAC is designed so that someone in possession of the secret key can verify the integrity of the message. The recipient of the message plus the MAC can perform the same calculation on the message. If the calculated MAC matches the MAC accompanying the message, then this provides assurance that the message has not been authored. So this is another way when you deal with two forms of symmetric algorithm. Symmetric algorithm. We remember the first one. We talk about, and this is the second type of single key cryptographic algorithm. Single key cryptographic algorithm, we mentioned two. We say symmetric encryption algorithm and what we call the message authentication code. You put a code on the message. Only with the code mark and the message, when it matches, then the message will open up for the receiver. Two key algorithm. Now, two key algorithm, they usually called asymmetric. It involves the use of two related keys. The private key is known only to a single user, or a private key is only known to a single user or entity, whereas the corresponding public key is made available to the number of users. So two keys are developed, okay, for the algorithm that is being developed for this type of key. One is a private for the person that is a sender, the user, the entity, and then the public that is going to access such message, they need what we call the public key, because this one, many users, once the message is sent, many people have to access it. So those many users in the organization need what we call the public key. Encryption algorithm that use two keys are referred to as asymmetric. I already talked about this. Encryption algorithm that use two key systems, they are called asymmetric. Encryption algorithm that use one key, they are called symmetric. Symmetric encryption algorithm. Now let's take a look at asymmetric. That's the one that use two keys. Asymmetric encryption can work in two ways also. Can work in two ways. One is an encryption algorithm takes as input some data to be protected, and the private key and produces an unintelligible transmission of the data. Like the first case. The algorithm itself will take the key and take the message, and the key will perform an unintelligible form on the message. So the message cannot be read by anyone anymore, except the person has the key to log and to go into it, and then it will now decrypt the encrypted message. A corresponding decryption algorithm uses the transformed data and the corresponding public key to recover the original data. So there's a second key called the public key that those who want to, at the end, the receiving end, we use to decrypt. Encrypt is to make the message in an unintelligible form. Decrypt is to return the unintelligible message back to normal form, back to its original form. And any possessors of the public key can perform the decryption. That's one. Then the second type of asymmetric encryption is an encryption algorithm takes as input some data, okay, and then you take some input, some data that needs to be protected, and a public key. You know the first case, data that needs to be protected and a private key, and then that for the first key. Then you will now send the public key to the receiver. The receiver will use the public key to decrypt the message so that they can now read the message. The second phase is you take the message to be encrypted, then you use a public key to encrypt it, to put it in an unintelligible form. Then the corresponding decryption algorithm uses the transformed data and a corresponding private key now. So it's like opposite of the first one. Opposite of the first one. The first one is that you take a data to be put in an unintelligible format. You use a public key to put it in an unintelligible format. And then you use a private key to put it in an unintelligible format. Then you send the public key to the users. The users will use the public key to key into it, to log into it, and they will be able to decrypt the message. So you use the private key to put a message in an unintelligible format and use a public key to decrypt it and be able to read it by the user. Then the second one is to use a public key to put the message in an unintelligible format and send a private key to the user to use it to decrypt the message. Now let's go quickly. Asymmetric encryption has varieties of application. Asymmetric encryption includes what we call digital signature algorithm. And asymmetric algorithm can also be used in two other important applications, such as key exchange and user authentication. Okay, let's go quickly because we have no time left with us. Also refers to symmetric encryption. We already talked about symmetric encryption, right? So I will not waste time in all this one. We say it also refers to secret key encryption. Okay, cryptographic scheme in which encryption and decryptions are performed using the same key. Okay, and that's for symmetric encryption, using the same key. For example, a symmetric encryption scheme has 5 ingredients. You have the plaintext, you have the encryption algorithm, you have the secret key, and then this is not the decipher text, meaning unintelligent message. You can no longer read it. It's no longer a plaintext. No one can read it anymore, unless the person has a key to decrypt the message. That's when the person can read it. This is just the algorithm of the whole 5-layer of symmetric encryption. The plaintext, then the encryption algorithm that will decrypt it, the secret key, and then the cipher text. So no, this is not the unintelligent message where no one can read until the person has a key to decipher or decrypt the message. Now, this is the block, the model of the symmetric crypto system. You have the data block, you have the encryption algorithm, you have the encrypted data message block. Encrypted data block, this is adversary. You have the decryption algorithm. Here, this message has been encrypted here. And then here, till you have the key. First of all, key was used. You use a secret key shared by sender and recipient. Because this one is a one-key system. For symmetric crypto system, you use one key. You use one key. So the sender and the receiver, they have same key. The key used to encrypt the message, you give the key to the receiver to decrypt the message. This is your secure channel. Okay, this encrypted data is a cipher data now. No one, unintelligent message. No one can read except the person has the key to unlock the message or decrypt the message. Then you have the data block, the decrypted one. You now have the original format, original message. Okay, symmetric encryption has application. There are two general approaches an adversary can use to attack a symmetric encryption. They can use what we call crypt analysis. They can also use what we call brute force attack. Okay, so two ways people can attack symmetric encrypted message: brute force attack and crypt analysis. Now, other crypt analysis, they have 3 forms. Crypt analytic attack rely on the nature of the algorithm. And then also, this type of attack exploit the characteristics of the algorithm. And then, if an attacker succeeds in deducing the key, all the future and past messages encrypted with the key are compromised already. Other crypt analysis. Then the brute force attack involves trying every possible key on the piece of cipher text until an intelligent translation of the plaintext messages is received. This one, he will be trying all the possible cyber text, all the key available on the cyber text till he gets through. There, another brute force attack is on the average, half of the possible key must be tried to achieve success. Okay, let's move on quickly. Now let's talk about asymmetric encryption. You remember asymmetric encryption is the use of 2 keys, either a private key to encrypt the message and a public key to decipher the message, or a public key to encrypt the message and a private key to decrypt the message or decipher the message. Public key cryptography, also called asymmetric cryptography, involves the use of 2 separate keys. We already talked about that. Here, a public key encryption system has 6 ingredients: the plaintext, the encryption algorithm, the public key, the private key, this cipher text, and the decryption algorithm. Okay, here is a block of what we have. We have the data. This is a public key, more than 1 key. Okay, used to encrypt the message. This is the encrypted message. You see, it's no longer looking like the playtest. And then, if you have the private key, you can decrypt the message, and then you can get the plain message. Okay? Or you have one private key to encrypt the message. And the message here now is not encrypted, and then you have public keys to decrypt the message, and you get a playtest message. So this is the block diagram of a public key system. Table 1.2 shows the asymmetric and symmetric encryption. So please go through this, okay, quickly. Now let's go to cryptographic hash function. I think we've talked about this. Hash function takes an input. We've talked about this. Here is a table, 1.3 requirement for cryptographic hash function. Okay, variable input, if you are talking about hash function for one key system. Variable input size, it's a hash, can be applied to blocks. Okay, go through this block and see what we have. Okay, the functions that we have. Now, here's a block diagram for this source. We say uses of a secure hash function. Okay, if it's secure, then it's used to protect the system, right? Message authentication is used to provide what we call a message authentication, and then B, digital signature. Okay, these are the two usage of encrypting a message. It's used to provide authentication, and then the second one is to provide digital signature. Now, digital signature, we say digital signature standard defines a digital signature as the result of cryptographic transformation of data. I think we've talked about this. When properly implemented, provide mechanisms of verifying origin authentications and data integrity, and a signatory non-repudiation. Okay, so we've talked about digital signature. Digital signature is widely used for a number of purposes, including the digital signatures are used for signing email message to authenticate the sender. They also, they are used for sending email message. When you say someone send you email message, you see under it, you see the university he works, his position, his rank, his phone number, his email. These are all digital signatures. So you know that this is the person sending the message to you. That's one use of digital signature. Another use of digital signature is signing software programs to authenticate the source of the program to counter the threat of software tampering. So it also shows software, whether it's authentic, Microsoft or copied one. So verifying the authorship or origin of digital data. It's used for verifying authorship if you are the author of a data or of any information. Ensuring the integrity of data, of digital data against tampering, and also for authenticating online entities. Now let's quickly look at. For digital signature, NIST recommend 3 alternative digital signature algorithms that we can use digital signature algorithm, DSA, with length up to 2048 bits. RSA algorithm with 2048 bits, and elliptic curve digital signature algorithm up to 224 bits. Okay. Implementation. We selected design and implementation standard first, and then we talk about deciding between hardware and software, and then we manage the key, and then security cryptographic modus. This is how we implement this case. And now public key certificates. A public key certificate is a set of data that uniquely identify an entity. Something that say, oh, this is okay, this is validate, something that validates that okay, an entity, this is the right user. The certificate contains the entity's public key and other data, and it's digitally signed by a trusted party called the certification authority, thereby binding the public to the entity. Okay, public key certificates are designed to provide a solution to the problem of public key distribution. Okay, this is the block diagram of public key certificate use. Now let's quickly look at PKI architecture. PKI means public key, right? let's quickly go. PKI architecture defines the organizations and interrelationship among public certificate authentication and public key users. Okay. Then let's look at the essential components of PKI architecture. One, end entity, certification authority, CA, and then registration authority, ROA, repository, and relying party. So you can see registration authority that will give the key, public and private keys. This certification authority, this is registration authority, this certification authority, this is repository that will give it. Okay, and all of you have PKI cells. Okay, we have key elements of network security. Network protocols, we have IPsec, TLS, HTTPS, and then we have SSH, IEEE 802.11i, we have S/MIME, MIME. All of this belong to communication security. And then we have what we call cryptography. We have the keyless, single key, and two key. So we have network protocol, we have cryptography. These two must work hand in hand in order for a system to be protected. Network must be designed in such a way to enable cryptography in order to protect. Cryptography is to provide the security needed in any network system. Okay? And then we have the third one, device security. Beside the network security, we need what we call the device security, like the firewalls, antivirus, intrusion detection, intrusion preventions. Okay. So device security, I have talked about like your antivirus, firewalls, intrusion protection. Now here's the summary. We describe 5 main security objectives and the main uses of cryptography. We describe 4 types of cryptographic algorithms, and then we're also trying to understand the concept of public key infrastructure, PKI, public key infrastructure. Okay, so that's the end.